All right, we have started recording. Okay, thank you everyone again, and my apologies for those who are watching this after the fact we've recorded. I normally teach the class between 3 and 4:30. Had a home inspection that should have taken 2 hours and was running on 5 when I left. It's a new inspector, so he was a little apprehensive about making mistakes, and I'd rather him take his time than make a mistake with my buyers. Today we're going to cover the opportunities. I believe I sent the little screen. I'll put the photo up here again just for everyone to see. With the opportunities, we're going to go over phases, stages, checklist, details, seller profiles, documents, offers, commissions, notes, and timeline. Now, just out of curiosity, how many people are on teams? You're a member of a team and not a single agent. Anyone out there other than myself, a member of a team? If not, it makes it easier for me. So everybody's on a team, or everybody's a single agent, no team? And believe it or not, the differences aren't that great within opportunities. There are some challenges or differences between them. However, that's not a problem for me because we can go through and I can show you an opportunity from both someone who's on a team perspective and someone who's a single agent. All right, we're going to go with. So the first thing I'm going to pull up is our command. And I'm pulling this up currently as a single agent. Get my little things maneuvered out of the way where I need them. I'm in a demo account for the Market Center. So in order to create an opportunity doesn't necessarily mean that the contact is buying or selling at this time. An opportunity can be a cultivation. In other words, you're working with someone over an extended period of time. And we'll go over that when we get to the different phases and stages. But let's say I have an opportunity. In this case, I will use Daisy Duck. And I'm going to change my share here just for seconds. Makes it easier for you to see everything. Can you see my cursor now with the red circle around it?
Which page are you on? How do we get in there?
Do you see my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to go right here. I'm going to click on the contact themselves. I just created this dummy contact for the training purposes. And you can make an opportunity in one of two fashions. One is to go to the contact card itself. Come over to the right, and your second tab is labeled Opportunities. You click Opportunities, and then over here.
How did you get into that page?
I am in command. Are you in command now?
I'm in command. Yeah, I am. But
okay.
It's given me basically welcome page. It's not like.
Okay, I'm going to start over. However, if for some reason anyone falls behind, send me a message to the chat so that we can keep moving forward, because I got quite a bit of material to cover for you in a short time. So I logged in because what you go to is right here where it says welcome.
You go to home?
This is where you are right now. So so this is what we're saying. When you log in, this is what your default screen is. This is your dashboard.
No, my default screen is the one that says it has a bunch of advertising and profile, my referrals and things like that. It's not the same that you have.
Are you in command?
Yes.
Your default screen when you log in will be the dashboard.
Is it my KW? Isn't that the same as my KW?
No, it is not.
Oh, okay. That's why. Probably.
That's why.
That's why. Okay.
So make sure you know the difference between
Yeah, yeah.
market leader and command. So to get to KW command, it's agent.kw.com. It's agent.kw.com.
Agent.
.kw.com. You should be able to use your credentials that you use for market leader. They generally are the same to access command.
It gives me color cloud. Is that what it is?
That's it.
Oh, okay. I got
All
you.
right. And just because, have you been in command at all?
No, I haven't been in. Yeah.
Okay. Do me a favor. Listen and then schedule a session with me next week.
Okay.
We can go more one-on-one because I know there are a lot of new agents and you may have questions as far as accessing things or going over different things where some of the other agents are maybe a little bit further advanced. Maybe they've been in
Okay. Okay.
command.
Not a
So,
problem.
but yeah,
Thank you.
I will make sure that my link for Calendly is in the chat.
Okay.
There's a chat or there's a link where you can set up one-on-one sessions with me.
Okay.
Starting on Monday the 28th, I will be in Oviedo every other Monday in the office for one-on-one sessions. I will be in Lake Nona starting the 29th every other Tuesday. And then in Waterford on October 1st, starting October 1st, I'll be going to be in Waterford every other Thursday. So I found a lot of there are a few agents that prefer face-to-face sessions. Most like the Zoom calls simply because I can record the Zoom call with you and then just send it to you so you can go back over what we went over at length and in detail. So I'd love to be able to work out with you.
Okay. I'm from Waterford, so I
That's
guess
okay.
October 1st. All right. Thank you. I apologize.
You're part of the Advantage family. That's all that matters to me.
That's right.
That's
Thank you.
all that matters. We're all one family.
Thank you.
But when you log into command,
Okay.
the reason it's called a home screen is because that's where they want you to end up.
Okay.
We're going to click our red square for anyone who's still learning command, and we're going to go to opportunities. It looks like the handshake. That's exactly what it is, like making a deal, an opportunity. Again, I'm in the demo account. There are no opportunities under the demo account, so you won't see any numbers such as for the GCI, probable income, potential income, anything of that nature. You're not going to see that. I can show you my personal, when I log into command, and when I go to opportunities, it will look at the opportunities that I currently have. I have 3 listings under contract. I have 1 active listing and 1 appointment, which I think after today will basically be active. I have a buyer that we're cultivating. I have 1 with a buyer's appointment. None active in the sense of I don't have any buyers actively looking because right now I have 3 buyers under contract. So with in this particular screen, which is I almost call it the opportunity dashboard. And when we create the opportunity, I want you to see why I'm putting the numbers that I am putting. But with whether it's a listing or a buyer, I make sure I try to put numbers as accurate as I can. What is the buyer pre-approved for? What is the listing going to sell, proposed or listed for? This is how they're going to determine what is your potential income in your pipeline. And the same thing with buyers. What is your potential income from these buyers? Now, you can read where it talks about the potential income is the total commission from all listing opportunities. And then the probable says that it adjusts the commission based on each stage's probability to close. So I'll just give you an example. When someone's in cultivate if you want to say that may be a long, a potential listing to maybe 2 years in the future, who knows? There's less chance of me getting income off of that as opposed to that one that's actually active and or under contract. The percentages are much higher. So the percentages increase from my perspective once I go from left to right. Same holds true with buyers. Just because you're talking to someone who says they want to buy a home until they're actually under contract, and what I mean by under contract is they have signed a buyer's agreement with me. I make all my buyers sign the buyer's agreement. That's when they go active. Then once they're under contract, of course, we have a house that's pending, then the probabilities increase. Now, what's going to happen several years in the future is that the artificial intelligence that's going to be driving the Keller Cloud platform will know not only the probability to close based upon your past, but also all Keller Williams agents with similar type of scenarios. So one thing I also want to point out, this is a team opportunity dashboard. You can tell that by up where my cursor is, it has the name of my team. Then it has the name of the agent. There's all opportunities, which generally mean not only those that are open, but those that are actually closed in the past. And then all discussions. Let's go back to the single agent. There's the agent's name, all opportunities, and all discussions. So as I said, there's not a great difference other than you're not going to see a team name because there is no team name to apply. Now going back to creating an opportunity. You can create the opportunity from one of two ways. Your preference, how you like to do it. You can come into opportunities itself and click on the create opportunity button. You will pull down by default, whatever your market center you're with is what's going to come. Mine pulls by, this one's going to pull Oviedo because this is the demo account for the Oviedo office. If I go to my account and go create opportunity, first thing it's going to ask me is it a team opportunity? And I can say yes. However, since I'm listed in all three market centers for different roles, I could assign the different market center. As individual agents, you're going to have Oviedo or Orlando Lake Nona or Orlando Waterford, and that's the only choice you're going to have. It's generally those in leadership or different roles that will see more than one market center. So you generally don't have to worry about this. I'm going to go back over here. Is it a listing or is it a buyer? Murray, our brokers, E&O insurance, or E&O insurance for the Vantage Group, does not cover leases, so we don't do landlord-tenant. So it's either a buyer or a listing. If I say listing now, and then I realize, oh, you know what, this is supposed to be for a buyer, I can change it here. But once I click this create button, I want to make sure everyone hears this clearly, because this is probably one of the top 10 questions I hear consistently since last year. Well, I created it as a buyer. Can I just switch it to a listing? Once you click this create button, I'm going to pull up my test account here. So right now, if I want to create a test account, I got to put certain, if you can see where the little red stars, I have to put something in there. So once I click create, and that becomes a buyer's opportunity, if I go, oh, I need to correct it, and I want to make it a listing, it's too late. Everyone catch that. So once it's changed, once you've created the account, once you've created this opportunity, and you have it as a buyer, if it needs to be a listing, If it needs to be a listing, you've made a mistake. And such, we will do this. We'll go where that listing or that opportunity falls in our opportunity dashboard, and this one it falls in Cultivate. Go to the three dots and click on Archive Opportunity. The archive opportunity is used for two things. For people like me that teach a lot and we create a lot of false opportunities, I need them to be erased. So like that's the reason that you see me putting test on all my little on my tags, so they know this is a test contact. This is a test opportunity for training purposes. However, I'm putting it there so when they go back and look at all the opportunities that I've archived, they'll understand why I've done this. But the archive opportunity is for when you've made a mistake. This one, I made a buyer, I needed to make it a listing. You can't switch it. You have to archive the opportunity and start over. Now the opportunity is no longer there. Now, I'm going to go to, because there's only a few contacts in here, another way to create an opportunity is from the contact itself. To me, this is preferable. This is the way I prefer to do it, since I know who is selling or who is buying, and I don't have to wait for command to look for them, because when I go to the contact card, I come over to the right to the second tab, which says opportunities, and I click on create opportunity. You will notice when I click on this create opportunity, the client name is already inserted. I didn't have to search for it. Again, if I want to switch it, listing to buyer, whatever I want to switch it to, I need to do it here. It needs to be made correct here. Let's go ahead and make this one a buyer again. And one thing I want you to also notice, the opportunity name. Generally by default, especially when you create from within the contact card, it will take the last name, duck, dash, and then the type of opportunity. If I switch this to listing, this switches to listing. Everybody see that? As I switch it to buyer, it now says buyer. So we're going to create this again. Here's my test. Scroll down, commission rate, and I'm going to go ahead and create the opportunity. Now I'm still in the contact card, and if you look where it tells me what stage it is, it's in watch, cultivate. If we go to, I can either go here, click this link, which takes me directly to the details of the opportunity. Or if I were to go on to, we'll just say opportunities. I love when it takes forever. Do you see this one? It tells me there's at least one opportunity in that particular phase. There it is. Cultivate, watch. And we click it. Now I'm going to go over, before I go any further into the details tab, does anyone have any questions right now? Create an opportunity, make sure you create it correctly. If it's a buyer, make it for a buyer. If it's for a listing, make it for a listing. If you make a mistake, archive the opportunity you created and start over and do it correctly the second time. I know that can be somewhat of a pain. The last thing you want to do is this right here. Does everyone see where the cursor is? Lost opportunity. And there's a slider there. And then they're going to ask you, why was the opportunity lost? A lost opportunity is the same as if the buyer fired me and is never coming back again to use me as their buyer agent. Or the seller decided they didn't like the way I was selling the house and they and they fired you. There's no chance. There's no opportunity for you to build a relationship and or have a closing with them. It's a lost opportunity. Archiver for mistakes. This is when the actual customer has walked away and is not going to do business with you anymore. Do not use this for your mistakes. The reason I'm stressing this right now is because if you recall a few moments ago, I stated the artificial intelligence that's involved in the Keller platform is going to take into a lot of things into consideration. They're going to look at our contracts and it's going to scan it and it's going to say this contract with this type of house and all the numbers and everything, and how many of them were lost. So if everyone keeps marking lost opportunity, it looks like we're losing a lot of customers on a consistent basis. If you do archive, it doesn't count against your numbers. If you do a lost opportunity, it shows that you are either losing buyers or sellers. So later on, 5-10 years down the road, when the artificial intelligence has given us this is your probability of closing, they're going to use the data they're collecting from us now. And in that data is, how many times did you lose a buyer? How many times did you lose a listing as a lost opportunity? So if a buyer makes an offer on a house and then decides doesn't want to buy that house, wants to go somewhere else, I'll pull up a chat here in just a second because I see you flashing there. But if a buyer pulls up, I want to buy a second house, then it's not a lost opportunity and it's not an archive. We'll get to that when we get the documents. Let's see if I can get it up there. Did anyone have a question? I have the chat hidden, as you can see, so if you do, just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question now. We all good for right now? All right. Details. I always say the devil's in the details. This is the information that we really need to make sure. Do your best. I know, right? Especially if you're new to the business, don't freak out if you don't do this. There are seasoned agents who are reluctant to do it. I'm just trying to, as someone who came from an IT backfield, I know how data. I mean, look at Google. They're built off data. And Amazon, they're built off data. More data we give, the more powerful we are. That includes with the general information. You see the pencil, you click that, it brings up the ability to edit the general information field. So we have the market center, the opportunity name. I want you to please note, for compliance reasons, when you get to the point where you're submitting folders to compliance for review, the opportunity name will need to have at least the street address in the opportunity name. I don't have to lose the duck and the buyer. I can put 123 Main Street, and I generally put the pipe right there between them. But 123 Main Street, the pipe, which if you look at it is just above your enter key, shift and the /. And then I leave the opportunity name that was there by default. I like the pipe because it's the separation. If there's a co-buyer, I can add that now. If need be, instead of sliding the opportunity from one thing to the next, I can go and make it active and say they're searching for homes now. Do you know how soon are they looking to search? Because remember, we were in Cultivate. I'm thinking, well, you know what? They're searching right now. I don't have an estimated close date because I don't have a pending contract. The appointment scheduled. Did they call you or did you call them during your care calls? In other words, when you were reaching out to your database, is that when you scheduled the appointment to meet with a buyer? Put the appointment date that it was scheduled. So if they called me on this past Sunday, that was the 13th. So if I go, okay, you know what? On the 13th is when the appointment was scheduled. And what was the appointment date? The appointment date was for today. So I went, I had the appointment, and let's say that Daisy Duck decided to sign the buyer's agreement today. That's when the agreement was won. When did they sign the buyer's agreement? That's the agreement. Contract date, when we get a pending contract, I generally put my contract date in there. What date was the date, executed date? And at the same time, I will then put in my estimated close date. Because if you're new to the business, the first thing you're going to learn is the date that's on the contract is not always the date that the transaction will close. So the contract may say September 30th, and then you may get to close early, or you may have to close a few days late. The estimated close date is basically the date that you put we're going to close by on the contract. The budget, how much are they looking to, what are they pre-approved for? Let's say when they were cultivate, I had no idea because they weren't pre-approved. But now that they're actively searching, let's just say they got a pre-approval for $250,000. I'm hoping I'm going to get a 3% commission rate. However, you never know. I'm going to click save. Several things have happened. One, this is now updated with the new name. And you can see the information. It tells me that if this buyer were to purchase a home at $250,000 and I were to get the 3% commission rate, the commission on that sale would be $7,500. Now, why is that important? Let's go back to the sales pipeline so I can show you. Here's our buyer in active. There's the potential income. And I guess by default, they have the probability of closing at 50%. Because that's half of $7,500. Currently, you can go in and change. See, searching 50%, 70%, 80%. You can currently change these numbers. I try not to mess with those numbers so much. You have enough to do making your calls. You have enough to do with everything else without trying to go in here and start changing all the numbers. So I'm like, you know what? The only thing that matters is that I get them under contract and I get them to close. Because when I get them to close, the final numbers will reflect my actual GCI. So if you want to, and you have the ability to and time to, you see where everyone see where I click edit stages. If you click this, if I want to reorder these, which I'm not going to, but let's just show you, I can drag it down to the bottom if I wanted to. I can make whatever I want to make in what particular order. If I need to, edit. This is delete, and this is edit. I can change the probability to 75 if I want to, and save it. I can say maybe this one should be 80, and save it. You can do whatever you want with these numbers. Right now, we as agents have the ability to change these numbers. I can't remember how far in the future it is, and I apologize because they change it constantly. But there's a point where we won't be able to change the probabilities because the probabilities will come off the artificial intelligence reading the data from all these different contracts that we do over the years. Checklist. This is kind of cool. So when you have a buyer who's actively searching for homes, you can create a checklist. Maybe do something like, set up a search on MLS and save it. And then these are things that you can make sure that when you're working with a buyer, you know what, I need to make sure I set them up on a search on MLS, and I can check that. And by the same token, you see this right here. This is new. It's called Client Update. So when you set up a checklist and you want the buyer in this case to be alerted that you've completed this step, when you check this here, and then save it, and when I save it, so when I go in and I say, you know what, I've done this, it will send an email to the buyer letting them know that I have set up a search on the MLS. Word of warning, do not use real estate agent terms in your checklist items. So if I was actually going to set up a buyer and I have a checklist like this where it said set up search on MLS, I would actually make it say set up search on multiple listing services. Don't assume they know what the MLS is. How can I move them from one stage to the other? Let's say that Daisy goes from searching to now we're showing homes. If you see the 6 dots here, and it won't let me grab it now, right? There you go. Grab it, hold your mouse button down, and then release it. And the opportunity has been updated. It's no longer in searching, it is now in showing. The same holds true if I want to go to negotiations, or if I need to go from active negotiations to under contract. I click it and drag it up. Watch the border around under contract go solid. See, it's kind of solid. It's highlighted and a little bit solid. It's a dashed line, but it's solid. I drop it. So now, if I click under contract, Daisy's opportunity is now in the first phase, first stage of the under contract phase. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. She's still supposed to be active. Put her back active. You can move them around. When you go from, if you move up, it goes into the very first stage. If you go back, it goes into the very last stage. So it's kind of like the first in, first out type mentality when you move them around. So just keep that in mind. Or by the same token, if we needed to go to under contract, we could change the opportunity phase here from active to under contract, escrow, and put save. Now we are under contract and no longer under active. Everybody see that? So there's more than one way. I know there are a lot of people that have been having difficulties with dragging these and moving these around. I understand that because sometimes you seen it a second ago, it didn't want to move when I wanted it to move. If nothing else, I can come in here because it has the phase and the stages here. I can change it under the general information. Property. This is pretty simple. Click on there. I'm not sure why they're making us do that. If we start putting an address, I'm just going to put something in for now. 400 days. You think I'd know how to spell it by now? I'm just going to put that. Something one of my buyers are getting. I want the address. I want it in there for multiple reasons. It's supposed to populate into DocuSign when you sync your transaction. Not everything's syncing now, but get in the habit of putting it here. If the buyer backs out of this one and decides to go to another home, update this also. Personal preference, because I want to make sure it syncs with DocuSign. Description, I kind of put notes here, to be honest with you. Maybe something I want to make sure that, don't call Donald, he may be sleeping or something. Don't call Daisy before 8 a.m. Donald has a temper. Whatever I want to put, you can put that this is for you and you alone. But that's the entire details tab of your command for the opportunity. Any question on the details? Next is pretty simple, the buyer profile. If you see where it says app association, if the buyer has downloaded your app and has created an account, in other words, they've signed in, you will see that they are associated with your app, and it'll say they're registered with your consumer platform, and there will be a buyer's guide that you'll be able to guide them through, like what step of the buyer's guide are they in. The buyer's guide is another completely different class. However, with the buyer's guide, you can kind of check off and let them know where they are, what they just accomplished, and it sends them communication through their app, which looks like it's coming directly from you, saying, congratulations, you've done this, you've done the escrow, now we're on to inspections, or however you want to set it up. This is what the buyer, or on the listing side, seller profile is for. Only because I know this is going to take one of the longest, with your permission, I'm going to go over here to timelines and work my way back to documents. Is that okay with everyone? I don't want to confuse anyone when I do that. Timeline doesn't mean as much to everyone right now. However, one thing I want to note is anything that you've done in the opportunity since its creation is recorded, and it's in the timeline. Now, why would that be important to me? What if you had a buyer that was on their third contract? So now you can't remember when you did the release and cancellation or something like that. You can come in here and you can search for for the addresses and stuff. This right now is underused and underutilized, and when they get more utility to it, I'll teach to it. But I just want you to know that everything that you do is recorded. It's time-stamped and dated. Notes, this is pretty simple. It's notes. Again, you can make whatever notes you want. Ironically, on let's see, I gotta have one with notes. I know I do. Let's see if I got notes on this one. There you go. Pull up the notes. One thing that I have in notes under our transactions, I have our transaction coordinator team member, Tammy. I want to be able to go in real quick. What was the executed date? What was the escrow? When's the loan application date? All the important calendar periods, I want that in the notes. So normally it's she or I will put that in there, but it makes it easy for a quick reference. And we know the notes will always be in there. Let's go back to our individual agent. So notes is nothing more than add a note. Nothing more than that. The commissions tab, it's grayed out. Why is it grayed out? You'll be able to view your commission when you have an accepted offer. This is something that I find a lot of agents are trying to figure out, well, where's my commissions tab? And then the first question I ask is, have you created an offer and was it accepted? Now, for example, I'm going to put this one here, just a test offer. You can name it if you want. There's no requirement for you to name it. I'm going to create the offer. I'm going to say the offer was made today. We are not closing in 2 days. I'll just say October 1st for now. I put down the close date. I can select from KWLS. You'd think I learned to spell Bradshaw by now. Where's it at? Oh. There it is. I'm only picking on this one because I know who the agent is. Seller's name. Seller Bob, whatever. I would actually have the seller's name put in there. Is my buyer pre-approved or pre-qualified? That's all I really need is the seller's name. It's going to populate the associate's name and email and phone from the KWLS. That's the reason we used it. It puts the buyer's name and email, and then it puts the agent's name and email, but never puts the phone number because it's not required. Terms. I don't care where you put the terms. If you want, my personal opinion is I will put it all in cash if it's a full cash buyer. Even if I'm going to put it in finance, even if I have a 50% down conventional, for me, it's easier to know there's financing involved. So I'm just going to say 220. So I can't go over to if I take this out, just to let you know, if I come over to the sale price and try to type 220,000, it won't let me. I have to either do it here or in cash. When it comes to the earnest amount, you can either put the percentage or if you know the dollar amount, because not everyone puts in the 1%. Option fee. We're not Illinois, Texas, and I forgot what the other states that have the option fee, so I don't bother with it. Buyer will give termination. What's the inspection period? Whether you put this in or not, this is purely up to you. It says seller will contribute how many dollars towards a residential service contract, which is another fancy way of saying home warranty. And then seller will contribute towards settlement cost, the closing cost. I just save it. I put nothing in here. I now have an offer. I send the paperwork off, it comes back, we do whatever we have to do back and forth for negotiations. We now have an executed contract. I now accept. It's now been accepted. You see how the status says accepted. Once I have an accepted offer, my commissions tab is now active. So I want you to watch the commissions tab right here. I'm going to change it back to see how it's grayed out, and there's a little information thing letting you know you'll be able to see commissions when you have an accepted offer. Now the commissions is active. Where's that today? So according to this, with the $220,000 sales price at a 3% commission, the check will be $6,600. Now, because this is a demo account, it's not going to do everything down here like it normally would. However, I'll show you. I'm going to switch back to mine just to give you an idea. Commissions, I don't know, one of them. It will tell you your cap status for throughout the year. So you will know whether or not you're close to capping. So I know this house at this, I was going to get a check for $8,280. And then I added my $395 transaction fee. Because of my split, I had to pay $3,019.50 out. And then they break it up for me with the deductions. And then my check is the $55.45.50, which is why it's great when you hurry up and you cap. Now I want to show you just for an example also. This is a listing that had offers. It went under contract with one. I had to change the response. And then went under contract here, had to change the response. So you can have, this is a listing, buyer went in, buyer backed out. I changed the response. Buyer went in, buyer backed out. I changed the response. Put that. Invalid more ID. Yeah. There's no agent called demo 3 MC329. So that's where it's given this little message here for us. Whoops, I wanted that one. But that's your commissions. There is a class on getting paid where you can just they'll simply go through the commissions tab. This takes, I tell you, it can take less than a half hour to do this. It's that simple. I'm personally going to go over here. I'm going to change the response. Watch the commissions tab go back to gray. And if I need to, I could even remove the offer. I generally, for agents, I ask you not to remove your offers. Simply change the response and then go to the next one and accept that. The only reason that I deleted this offer right now off this account is because this is a demo account for the Market Center. So I don't need it coming up in the numbers as a bogus number. So before we go any further, and before we get into documents, does anyone have any questions? Because the documents can be rather, I'm not going into DocuSign right now. So if you were waiting for DocuSign, I will not be going into DocuSign. I simply want to go in to documents for the opportunity. We're only doing opportunities right now. I have several videos on my YouTube channel for anyone that has questions about DocuSign. So any questions at all, anything on what we've covered so far, on details, on the buyer or seller profile, on the offers, and then accepted offers turns on commissions, notes, which are pretty self-explanatory, and timeline. Any question, no matter how small. Nobody? I'm only asking because I know you're going to be calling me and sending me messages at 10 o'clock at night. I forgot how to do this. And don't worry, you won't be the first. But I don't feel embarrassed. Just ask the question. Whoops. If you archive it, can you? You can. That's a good question. Patty had asked, but if you can archive, can you bring it back? And when I go back on, I'll show you how to do that. That's actually simpler than you think. It's the same way you bring back an archived contact. It's in the settings of command. So any questions besides that? Because I'll go into that real quick, and then we'll do the documents. And documents is where I find everyone's getting tripped up.
I get a quick question for you.
Sure.
When you first log in, just because I'm new on this, I guess do you send us the password and
your password is the same password you use for Market Leader.
For KW.
Yeah, for my KW.
Uh-huh.
Whatever you sign in with that is what you're generally using for command.
Oh, okay. I tried it. It didn't work, but that's okay. Well, I'll try it again.
Have you gone through all the onboarding with Scott Leroy? Have they finished onboarding you yet?
I'm sorry. Did I get what?
Scott Leroy. Have they done all the onboarding for you that you know of?
No, I don't know that.
Okay, they would generally send you all that information. That's why I want to make sure that see if they have.
Well, I mean, I've been a month right now with KW, so I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, you should have the your command credentials by now. If not, that's not a problem. Okay. Like I said, matter of fact, I'll go ahead and put that in while I'm thinking about it. I'm going to put that link in for everybody. There you go. That sounds familiar. I think I put it in there. Yep. There we go. Understand that this week I will be at Mega Camp virtually, but I will not be doing mentor sessions for the next 3 days because I'm going to be neck deep in Mega Camp. So That's a lovely wall back there, Jason. I just want you to know that, brother. Hoorah. Semper Fi. He stayed in a hell of a lot longer than I did. Nothing but respect and love for my boy, Jason.
Mhm.
At least I'm feeling better than when I started the push-up challenge.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're not.
Oh, I was pretty bad there for a while. Anyone doesn't know, I've had the COVID twice now. And then when I got it in into June and July, that was anyone that tells you it's not bad, they're lying to you. I thought it was it. Thought I bit the big one. All right, let's go ahead and go to that archive. So I'll go back. I'm just going to share the screen, make it easy. I'm going to go where I know I have. Well, actually, you know what? This will be in here too. So everyone see where I go. I've gone. I know that I got Jason here. So what I'm going to do is go up to your name, drop down arrow, and I'm going to go to settings. Ironically, it's going to be one of your best friends over time. And I'm just doing all this for you. I want you to see these. This is the reason I'm trying to expand them for you. I'm not so much worried about that one, but when you archive a contact, can you bring them back? Sure. Go to the contact archive and you can retrieve them. By the same token, opportunity archive, when I click it, remember the one that we archived earlier? I can restore it. So that if you made a mistake and then realize, you know what, I was right the first time. So if you archived it, oh, I got to go back. That's the one I needed. It is there for you. That is the beauty of it. You can't, once it's marked lost, it's gone forever. That's the reason they ask for an explanation. It's almost like with Microsoft when they ask you, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Well, are you sure you're sure? So they're kind of doing the double, double dip and making sure you're marking something lost for a good reason. Does that help, Patty? You come off mute. I don't bite.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Well, I do, but it's only a rumor. So let's go back to our opportunity with Daisy before she leaves us. We're going to go back in. Documents. Now, I kind of want to, yeah, they're still doing that. This is something I want you to be aware of, and I want to make sure you understand, do this correctly. So let's go with, we have a buyer, and it says pick checklist type. Are they buying a single family home or townhouse? Are they buying a condominium? Are they buying vacant land? Are they buying from a for sale by owner? Are they buying new construction? The reason for those agents that were with us prior to DocuSign and .loop, we kind of had it set up like templates so that what was needed for a particular type of transaction was segregated, so you knew everything was kind of grouped together for you. And that made it easy also because at the bottom of the transactions, it would have what type of documents were needed for each transaction. Let me show you what I mean. If we click buyer, single family home, townhouse, and we go to the under contract, this is under contract because a buyer, we're not going to have a listing folder for a buyer. There's the under contract. If you look here, you will see the documents that are either required or conditionally required. For example, when you have a buyer that you get under contract, you must have a copy of the MLS broker synopsis in your files for the property. You go to the MLS, you can save the broker synopsis as a PDF. The sales contract, you need to have a copy of the executed Everyone understands what I mean when I say executed, correct? Executed. All parties have signed and been shared. So you don't want to have the sales contract where your buyer signed it, but the seller hasn't. You're going to want a copy of the verification of escrow, something from the title agent or escrow agent stating that the escrow has been made. You're going to want a copy of the seller's property disclosure or the seller's property disclosure waiver. You get a lot of investors that come in, they don't do a seller's property disclosure. There is a document out there called the seller's property disclosure waiver, which basically says the seller says he doesn't know anything. It's a shortened version and it avoids them just crossing through the entire page saying don't know. Since this is your buyer, you will want to have the broker's buyer disclosure signed by your buyer. Then we go into conditionally required. Is the home in a mandatory homeowners association? There are some places out there where it's voluntary and there's no estoppel or anything of that nature. They're generally not HOAs, those are community associations. But if there's a mandatory HOA, deed restricted HOA home, it has to have the rider B. That's why it's conditional. By the next rider E, which is for FHA VA, or rider F, which is for conventional loans. You have one or the other. You don't have both. Which supplement do you have? Y'all can come off anytime you want to. You don't have to do the chat. You can always talk. This is interactive. I want to make sure you're still awake. Which disclosure are you talking about?
The seller's property disclosure. They had the regular one, but they also had a supplemental seller's disclosure.
Something that came from the other brokerage or something?
Yeah.
That's a good question, and I'm actually very glad because I would have not. I'll be honest with you. I'd have probably forgotten to say anything about it. Just put it down here, like other.
Okay.
Or blank addendum. In other words, you can this down here. Let's just say additional rider, for example, rider AA. If the listing agent is related or has in a relation to the sellers, they have to disclose it. That's an additional rider. Or maybe this purchase is contingent upon them selling their house. Rider, is it V? You think I'd remember my riders by now. But anyway, there's, you can put the riders there. If you have so many extra things, you can even do it under blank addendum. Anywhere where you see where it says, you can put that in because it's just an other. But the supplemental, because I know, I think Watson's the best for it. They always have a supplemental type of, disclosure, and especially for drywall, which is good because at least they're doing what appears to be due diligence. But this tells you what's required, what's conditionally required. So if you have, just because it says conditionally required, if you put on the sales contract that the finance type is FHA, you better have the rider E. That rider E is for FHA and VA loans. Or if it's not mandatory for conventional loans to have an appraisal, it's recommended. However, it's not mandatory. But I always make sure I have a rider F with all my conventional loans. Matter of fact, I generally do an appraisal contingency for my cash buyers. Because once you start working with investors, I'm like, you know what, you want to spend $400 or $500, make sure it's worth what you're getting. If you suddenly find out it's sitting on, an Indian burial ground or something, or sinkhole about to open, you're not going to want to buy it. Just go through and make sure everything's worth what it says it's worth. Notice of brokerage affiliation. As many of you know, we have affiliation with Movement Mortgage or Magnolia Closings or First Service Title, or we have lenders and title companies. different companies that we have business affiliations with. And as such, we must disclose any potential benefit to our owner if buyer or seller were to use one of those businesses. So we disclose it with the notice of brokerage affiliation. You don't have to put it in there if they're going to use a title company that's not affiliated with our brokerages at all, or whatever the case may be. You don't have to have the notice of brokerage affiliation. I generally have my buyers sign it just in case, because you never know who the seller may be using. Additional riders when addendum. That all goes there. Now, let's just say I'm just going to add something just to add. So bear with me. I just want to put something in here. I have to put something in there. Whatever. Is that a PDF? Yep. Okay. Make sure it's a PDF. All right. So now I've got something in this particular folder. And let's just say this was that 212 Bradshaw that I've been putting in the details up to now. Let's just say this buyer, we're going through, we do inspection. During the inspection, we find out, a tornado came in. We're not going to buy it now. This is not a lost opportunity. This is not an archive. Simply, the only thing we have to do is we're going to add a version. So we got a buyer, single-family home townhouse. They go and they find another house. And we'll just call it 123 Main Street. So now they're going to go make an offer on 123 Main Street. I need a checklist for 123 Main Street. Everybody with me? I need to hear one yes. Other than mine.
Yes.
Can everybody see the drop-down arrow next to the under contract?
Yes.
Click it. It says add version. Now and this is only what we do with the Deborah Morse Home Team. How you wish to do it is purely up to you. I find it beneficial to leave the under contract V2 and add 123 Main Street. And there's my new version. And now, remember before I had something there? Now there's nothing there. Because before it was under contract. That was the house number 1. I can't change the name of that right now. Now I'm under contract V2, 123 Main Street. If I needed to do it again, let's say that 123 Main Street falls down, and now I need to go for a third house. You notice how it has V3. And then put whatever the street address, and so forth and so on. Don't laugh because I have a buyer that's where we're at. Just because I brought it, just to give you a good laugh. Where's my buddy? Where the hell are you? Oh, that's right. He's clear to close. Look at all that. So that means I was constantly going back and forth with this and this and this and this. However, when you call me and say, hey, Chuck, my buyer backed out, we're going to go for another house. How do I erase? There's certain phrases or terms that you need to lose out of your vocabulary or thought process. Let's go with that. You don't want to delete anything once you put it in command. Let me re-say that. You do not want to delete anything once you put it into command. Now, if I put something here, I'm going to go back to that same thing again. I give it that. When I come here, I can remove it. They're going to know that I put it in and took it out. But you don't want to delete. So you don't want to come back over here, because if you notice, it's going to say remove. It's going to say remove until you've submitted your folder to compliance for a review And I'll give you, let's see. For example, see how it's approved? Now when I click now, it's either replace or print. I can't remove it. Does everyone see that? It no longer says remove, it says replace. The options are replace or print. Here it's remove or print. Remove is, think of it almost like the archive opportunity. You know what, this is not the PDF I wanted here. I needed something else. Yeah, I want to remove that. And that's fine. But once you've submitted something to compliance, it's not going to, the original has to stay. That's because of the legal, the legalities involved with everything. Consultation. Whatever you want to put in here is fine. You don't have to put anything. If you want to, let's say that you decide to come up and you know what, I want to add an item, and I'm going to call, I don't know, buyer consult. And let's say you come up with something that, let's see, we'll call it other. And let's see, I have way too many files. Let's see, marketing. No. There it is. Buyer consultation. There you go. Maybe I want to put this in here.
Yeah.
So I can put that under consultation if it's something you use. This is almost like a bonus type of folder. Your primary focus is going to be on under contract, because under contract is for you have the buyer is under contract to buy a home. So they're going to have all these different folders that may either be required, conditionally required. By the same token, if you go to the closed folder, you don't have to put these up. These are optional. I would almost like to tell all the new agents, if you see this and it says optional, think of it as only if I want to keep my job. No, I'm scared. If you get a copy of the inspection report, I'd upload it in here. When you get the settlement statement at closing, I'd make sure it's in here. If you get a copy of the appraisal report, buyers aren't required to share that with you. But if you do get a copy, I tell the buyers I want to keep everything that we get during the transaction. So if they ever have to come back to me and ask me for it, it's in the cloud, because that's all the command is. It's in the cloud. And next year, when it's time for the buyer to file for homestead, you know what they need? They need that settlement statement. That ALTA statement is what they're going to need. So when you send them their settlement statement beforehand saying, hey, remember, this is Chuck, your agent, just wanted to let you know, don't forget to file for your homestead exemption. Here's a settlement statement from your transaction. You want to talk about people not forgetting you for something that simple? 6 repeat transactions this year just because we reminded them 2-3 years ago. All we did was let them know. It's something that you as an agent, you need to take upon yourself. At the beginning of the year, you have a great reason to reach out to every transaction you just had, because, especially for the buyers, because they're going to need to file for homestead. And when they do, they're going to need that settlement statement. Now, they give us a consultation, they give us an under contract, and they give us a closed folder. What if you want your own folder? So let's just say, and I do this quite often, misspell that too. Miscellaneous docs. Maybe it's a letter, buyer's letter to the seller, or just anything that you can think of that normally doesn't, it's not transaction related, but maybe it's something you want to make sure you remember for later. You come in here, you just add a document, kind of choose what it is, whatever, make a note, and then where's it at? Now currently, manual means it's on my computer. Custom folders means it's in the custom folders I'm creating, which is ironic. It's only going to say these two because I don't have DocuSign for those using DocuSign or .loop for those using .loop. I don't have them connected with this account. I do have it with, as you can see, like for example, on this one buyer here, if everyone can see, there's the buyer's letters and miscellaneous documents. Didn't put it in there. Here's all the inspection reports because there were the wind mitt, the 4-point, the key points, and the entire report. Well, since there were 4 separate reports, but I have all 4. If he ever comes back to me, I'll be able to pull up his opportunity, because the best thing is once this opportunity closes, when I go to his contact card, it not only shows me any current opportunities that I have with him, but anything I had in the past. And he can call me, Chuck, that house we bought in 2020? Yeah. We had an inspection report. Do you remember what? I can't find it. What part do you need? Because everything's going to be there. I'm anal about keeping everything nice and neat and orderly. It's just, I like it that way because I forget too much. I know I'm getting old and I'll forget everything. So I do use my custom folders. Even though it says here, inspection report, that's the big inspection report. See my title commitment? I put my title commitment. I put my municipal lien search. I put everything in there that I can. If title or lender is sending something to me official document wise, it needs to be stored. Well, command is your cloud storage. Instead of bogging down your personal computer or your laptop, put it in command, put it in a folder, upload, say, you know what, I need to add a file, or I need to add a file. What type of file? And do whatever I want. I can add whatever I want. As a matter of fact, what I meant to do there is add an item. I can tell on this particular transaction that I'm doing it through DocuSign, because DocuSign here is an option for the source of the document. But remember, this system is supposed to work for you, not make you work. It takes a little time to get it all under control. I admit that. And there are times it just seems like it doesn't want to work no matter what. I get that too. However, the more you can put in here, when they come back to you asking for something, you're not having to hunt through your emails looking for it. If it's something critical to the transaction, I put it in my folders and the documents. So if I come over here and say, oh yeah, do I need an add a version? Sure. I wouldn't add a version to closed. God, I hope not. However, actually I would if I have, generally I get once, you don't want to get past the appraisal period. And then all of a sudden going, oh crap, I thought I was closing, and suddenly he has no money or something. God forbid, happen to your buyer. But the documents, I need to make sure you understand. I want you to see again. We'll go back here. We're going to under contract. Can everyone see the list, like broker synopsis, sales contract? I need you to unmute yourselves now to make sure. I want to make sure everyone, and not just Patty, is seeing the list.
Yes. Yes.
Do you see the list? Now, look at the list. Just focus on the list, because I'm going to change the buyer type to condo. I want you to notice how it changes here. Confirm. Notice now there's a rider A.
Mm-hmm.
Rider A is only for condominium sales. Vacant land. Don't need as much for vacant land. I mean, what can they disclose? But you're always going to need the broker's buyer disclosure. There's a vacant land property disclosure or waiver, verification of escrow, sales contract synopsis. If you go look at FSBOs, for sale by owner, these are the things that will be required. And there is a KWA FSBO agreement in DocuSign. And then there's the commission agreement with the seller has to sign that they agree to pay commission. Then there's the non-representation disclosure, which is funny because I think this takes care of these two. There's a sales contract, verification of escrow. But if you can notice, every time I've changed the type, this is the best one. You only need two things. That's it. That's all that's required for compliance. Contract and buyer's disclosure. Something saying that this is my buyer, and something from the builder saying they're buying from us. Because they take care of the escrow, they take care of everything. If you can get into new construction, that's the racket to get into. Because they take care of everything. You just get paid for showing them or bringing them there. Same holds true. Let's create one. Let's create one for Daisy. We'll make it a listing. Test. Daisy's feeling generous. She's going to give me 4%. Because I'm going to really bust it for her, Daisy. Now I'm going to go over to documents. And we're going to look at a listing. So a listing of a single family home. The information that's required. If it's a single family home or townhouse. And I'm going to ask everyone just to see who's been paying attention. The owner's authorization to exclude MLS from listing. Does everyone know what that is?
No.
Okay.
Is that a post sale by owner?
That's kind of it's a post dating. So like, for example, I'll just give you an example. Last week, the wife and I signed a seller signed a contract, but she's not going to put it in the MLS until this coming Thursday, the 17th, because it's more than 2 days from the time we signed the contract till it actually goes active in the MLS. We need to have them sign the owner's authorization to exclude. It's basically a temporary exclusion from the MLS. So that says I'm signing the listing agreement for this date, but I don't want it active in the MLS until this date.
Hmm.
So if you get them to sign the listing agreement, technically 48 hours or 2 days later, it's supposed to be active. Most of us aren't doing that, especially if you've been doing it for a while. You know what? I'm getting you to sign a week or two beforehand. I know you got painting to do, or you've got a new roof or whatever. I mean, I've actually had one where we had them sign the listing agreement in January, and it didn't go active until April. Roof and a few other things they were working on. However, I have a contract with them, so nobody can go over there and say, "Hey, we'll sell your house."
So the contract is good for 6 months, right? That's it.
Contract's good for whatever you set it.
Whatever you said it.
Yeah, I say I'm going to do it for a year. Usually a year is as good as long. After a year, you have to renew it. But if you look on the listing agreement, the listing agreement doesn't say it's 6 months. You're thinking of was it the 120 days, whatever, for the buyer's agreement? I think it's.
I read it somewhere where I think you represent the guy for 6 months only or something like that.
It may be. I think the buyer's agreement. Let's see what the hell it says.
Maybe the seller's agreement.
You got me thinking now. I don't know. Let me see. Where's the buyer's agreement?
It may be the seller's, I think.
Let's see. I like the fact that you can click on your documents and look at them. Go on, I'm blind. Let's see. Which is funny. See the notice of broker affiliation? I'm thinking we do it here. Why do we have to do it twice? Just me. What do I say? I complain a lot. Sorry. The laws, hex laws. Yeah. I think it's the actual buyer's agreement that says, which is not mandatory. Which is funny. I think I had the buyer's agreement in here. Let's see if I can find it. Now you got me curious. So you just said that. I'm like, you know what? Where's it at? There. No, that's not it. Yeah, let's see that. Just assign it for now. Crap, didn't mean to do that. I just realized I just changed to. He'll get mad at me. I was in an approved folder. You don't want to mess with approved folders. I'll just tell him, you know what? I was teaching class. Stop crying. Let's see. 120 days. There it is. Yeah. So by default, 120 days for the preferred buyer agreement.
Can you change that?
If you want to, you can do a strike through and make it 180 days.
Oh, you can do it as long as you want?
Yeah. It's your business.
That's good to know because I didn't know. I thought it was set in stone or something.
Nothing's set in stone. This is real estate. Everything's negotiable.
Same thing for the seller? If we have a seller, I mean.
My listing agreements, generally good. Depends upon who the customer is.
Hmm.
You know, for me. But if I were to do a listing agreement that, let's just say, for example, starting in September, if I'm going to do a listing agreement, let's see which one I have. That's a buyer. Idiot. Sometimes the brain just doesn't click. Sundance. Yeah, no, you still want that, and it doesn't need to be. What was I looking for? Listed. Listing agreement. Where did I put it to? Well, click. Sometime today. There we go. February 28th, 2021.
So what, 6 months?
I make like 6 months or so.
Can you do it a year? I mean, you could do it
If
longer.
you want to, no, you can do. I think you can do up to a year.
But you have to renew it every 6 months.
No.
No, you don't.
If you have it for a year, you have to renew it at the year.
Oh, okay. I was just curious if we could do it just a year. I mean, just.
I wouldn't do it. You're not instilling confidence in your seller if you're saying, I need a year to sell your house.
Oh, okay. No. I understand what you're saying, but this is for my own information.
Yeah. I believe it's up to a year is what they allow.
I got you.
I intentionally will make it because this house didn't go on the market right away. Just to show you. Authorization. Remember I was talking about the authorization to exclude? We signed a listing agreement on August 7th. It didn't go to the MLS until August 27th. So I figured if I wasn't starting till the end of August, basically the beginning of September, give me at least 4 or 5 months to get the house sold in this market. But I told him, I said, there's no reason why, if a house is priced right and ready to go, there's no reason the houses won't, you know. Ironically, we've been under contract since what, the 29th? 28th or 29th.
And how soon you give them all the paperwork? Right away, right? Or...
Oh, this has to be signed. There's 2 things that have to be signed by my sellers right away: the listing agreement and the owner's authorization. Immediately. The day, so I know this is when I'm now going to sell your home, and this tells me this is when we're planning on putting it in the MLS. So because one thing I want you to notice, and I'll bring it up for you real fast. I didn't put the other version in, but I had the version where Murray signs. So the broker needs to sign it. I just put the wrong version in. But this is signed. Needs to be signed within 2 days. so that it meets the MLS requirements.
That's if he doesn't want it in MLS. If he wants it in MLS, he doesn't sign anything else, right?
If he wants it, well, if we knew when we signed the listing agreement, he was fixing the house. He wasn't going to be ready in 2 days.
I see, I see.
He was getting ready to go on vacation. He has a tenant. It was like, you know, a whole list of things that he needed to prepare and get ready before the house was going to be ready to list. And I mean, if I come to you and say, you know what, I need you to sell my house, but can you give me a couple of weeks? I want to paint it. We're going to resod the yard and maybe put a new fence. Well, I'm thinking myself, all right, they're going to make the house turnkey, you know, ready to move in, and they're going to increase the curb appeal, which means I'll get more buyers quickly. I take all the time you need.
But otherwise, just the listing agreement. Is there any other agreement?
Listing
for
agreement,
MLS?
then for the MLS,
Yeah, to list it.
you're
in
going
the-
to need the data entry form.
Oh, okay.
But I'm saying you're talking about when I was at the table, what did I need right away? I needed the listing agreement and the owner's authorization. That is what I needed immediately.
Okay.
I can wait on the seller's property disclosure. I can wait on the data entry form because the seller and I will fill that out together. And I generally do most of my data entry forms in transaction desk through the MLS.
I see.
So all these others I need when the listing goes active, all this has to be in place. But the day they sign the contract saying that my wife and I will be listing their home, all I need is the listing agreement and the owner's authorization to exclude. That's all I need. I am now under contract with this seller to sell their home.
But I guess I was asking you if they don't have to exclude it from MLS, listing agreement is all I need.
Yeah, if you're going to list it in 2 days.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, if it's ready to go in 2 days, that means photos and everything. All the paperwork has to be filled out in 2 days. Everything.
Oh, I see. I have to provide the photos. That's right.
Yeah, you still got to do photos. You got to do the marketing. You got to do all that stuff. You know, if you're going to hold an open house, you're going to need to market the open house. The quickest I've done a turnaround from listing agreement to actually listing and going active, I think it was 4 days, 5 days. Wasn't the happiest about, because once you get into your if we'll say your SOP, your standard operating procedure, and or your systems, I have certain systems I have in place where I market it, how I market it, when I market it. Now, with clear cooperation with the MLS, this is the reason we need the owner's authorization. You can't even put a sign in the yard. You can put a sign in the yard the day before. It used to be you could put a sign that said coming soon. Can't do that anymore. The coming soon better be tomorrow, or you can be reported and fined. So if it's going to be more than 2 days, I get them to sign the authorization to exclude. And then if the guy goes out and puts the post in the yard, make sure your sign's not hanging there until the day before it goes active in the MLS. They will fine you. And there are people out there that are reporting agents left and right. But anyway, do you understand to some degree, for those who had, I know my friend who's just getting into command, it may have been somewhat confusing, but with respect to especially the documents, because this is where I find everyone's getting hung up, especially with the under contract. Oh, I'm, with the buyer, I'm under contract, and then we decide to blah, 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 blah. And I need to, what do I do? Do I make a new opportunity? Do I archive it? Is it lost? No. You go and make, what did we do? A new version. It's all it is a new version. Nothing more than new versions. It's nothing more than that.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
You have like those YouTube stuff on line. I mean, is this what you're talking about now? Is this on YouTube too?
I have, yeah. I'll show you. I'll pull it up here real quick, and then
So
I'll
are
put
they everything
it
you
in the
have is
chat.
on
I'll put it in the
YouTube?
chat too. Yeah. Where's my YouTube? Where the hell is my YouTube? Let's see what garbage I've been looking at lately. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. If you don't have a YouTube channel now, recommend you get one for
Oh, you
business.
do that? Should we?
Oh yeah. Oops, wrong one. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oops, wrong one. Come back over here, switch account, which account? That one. All right, playlist. Da-da-da-da-da. Copy the link. Where's the chat? Chat.
Can you send us the link? I mean, I know I have it on YouTube, but I just don't. It's are they like organized 1, 2, 3 or no?
I just sent everybody the link. Patty, if they do a supplement disclosure, it's best to go ahead and submit them both. It never hurts.
Okay, thank you.
It's not really necessary. I mean, if they added their version or something for the seller's property disclosure, I'll let German see it. He'll know what it is. He's not really looking for it. He's looking for the actual official one. Now back to your question, Waleed. This is my playlist for the training videos. This goes like for that here. This one goes over landing pages and campaigns. DocuSign tips and mastermind session we had. This was a command basics and setup, navigating command. DocuSign basics and tips. Counter offer using DocuSign, organizing your DocuSign room folders. Anthony DeCilio and I did a lead accelerator, paid ads and campaigns. I had a class with MAPS coach Barrett Spray and his MAPS customers, they're going to say MAPS agents, about campaigns. The consumer applet, talking about sharing your message. This is about smart plans in command, opportunities in command, command and DocuSign. I think this is private, so you won't see it anyway. Updates to opportunities. I did kind of a command opportunity type thing with DocuSign with the Brown Home Group out of Waterford. Command adding pages to agent sites. How you can add to your sites. This here was talking about designs for those that were interested in doing the 80-20. This was DocuSign tips. And then this was the last week or 2 weeks ago, taking command of command campaigns. And I put the link for this playlist in the chat for you.
Okay, thank you.
So I try to make sure that I'm recording everything for you, so it's not, sometimes you may pick something up and sometimes you may fall asleep when I'm talking, because I'm as
How long do you think it would take us to really master command? I mean, what if we
that's
get
up to
stuck?
that's up to you.
What happens if we get stuck sometimes?
Well, the first question I ask everybody and is, are you taking Command 101? And here, I'll share it again. So if you're taking Command 101, I'm gonna log out of there. Log out. Command 101. If you haven't yet, recommend you start it now and complete this. Everyone. Command your conversion, Command 101. It's free for Keller Williams agents. It was made for Keller Williams agent by a Keller Williams agent, by one of the tech gurus, Nick Baldwin. And it goes through and it goes over contacts, smart plans, expand it, Facebook and Instagram as far as campaigns go, the consumer experience about your site, about the app, creating landing pages, opportunities, and designs. And you go through all this And most of them are just, look, it shows you right here. You'll be able to learn every single feature of command through video tutorials, all less than 15 minutes, and short quizzes in each module to test your knowledge. They will not let you move forward unless you pass the little quiz. So it's not like there's a quiz after every little video, but they have certain places where there are quizzes, and you need to be able to pass the quiz to move forward. Because the last thing you want to do is you're cheating yourself if you just say, yeah, I know what it is, when you couldn't pass the test. And not only that, here's the important thing. Look at this. Smart plans that you can use immediately. He has PDFs to show you examples of smart plans that you can start using from minute one.
Are you just the specialist for command, or do you have any idea about the Kelly and KW thing? Do you?
Well, Kelly is nothing more than the mobile app for the agent.
What does it do? Because
right now it's outdated and it really doesn't do much of anything. It does some notifications, but it's not being focused upon. It was when we first got command, it was kind of hand in hand with command. Whatever you did on command, you could do in Kelly. They're coming up with a 2.0 version of the mobile app, which is called Mobile Command, because the Kelly, K-E-L-L-E, is actually what they call the name of the artificial intelligence. But the Kelly app, you should be able to make calls. You can initiate a call and make notes that you've called, the same as if you were on your desktop. You can send text messages and it will appear in command. But the problem is that the notifications and everything that you were receiving are just not as reliable as they used to be. However, I highly recommend everyone sign up for this. It can go through, and it's self-paced, so you can do it as quickly or as slow as you need to. It's going to lay the foundation, because you're going to notice when you go to, if you go to that link I sent, my Calendly link to schedule one-on-one, well, the first question I'm going to ask you is, have you started or finished this? Then I'm going to ask you, have you been here? And this is answers.kw.com. So when you go to, we'll go over here so you can see what it looks like. So when you go to answers.kw.com, click on command, all types of articles and everything. For example, I'm going to see all 40 articles about, let's see, getting started. So let's just say create an opportunity. Give it a second to load up. There's a nice little video. You click on it. Everything loads slow.
Is this from the university?
What's that?
Is this KW University?
It's what KW University sort of morphed into. But you can go through and it'll kind of walk you through, and then by the same token, when you look down here, there's a step-by-step on how to create an opportunity. Create an opportunity is easy. Remember I told you to either click create opportunity in the opportunity dashboard or go to the actual contact itself and go to the opportunities tab and then click create opportunity.
Are you teaching this course again?
I rotate the courses that I'll be teaching. Like next week, I probably won't be teaching. I don't know. It depends. Part of it depends because I need to see what's being released with MegaCamp. So whatever gets released in MegaCamp, I need time to play with. I need time to figure it out.
Let me ask you this about MegaCamp. Since we're new, what would you suggest in MegaCamp to concentrate on, to look at for new agents? I mean, because I'm looking at it, and it doesn't seem like, I don't understand what's going on with it. It seems like I guess maybe because I don't understand it.
Well, that could be part of it. So everything that they're going to be broadcasting in the training room over the next day or two, I guess it is. And I'm trying to remember what they're broadcasting. Let's see. Give me 2 seconds. I'm trying to look at the note they sent me. Well, they do have a Zoom. Let's see. Day schedule. Blah, 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 blah. Did she send? Actually, did they send out a text message today about Mega Camp?
They sent an email.
Yeah, they sent something out about if you're questioning whether to go or not, come into the training room at 5 or something. Yes, I remember that now. They're going to be showing what I call those the big grand hall. If you think of when we go to Austin, which is where Mega Camp will be held, when we go to Austin, Texas, it's in a convention center. Every convention center has that one massive big hall that, thousands of people can sit in. And those particular ones where Gary Keller is speaking, or they have the top agent mastermind speaking, or Josh Teams is speaking. And they're going to be broadcasting those to every agent in the market center at the training in the training room. I highly recommend you be there. Highly recommend. So you get an idea of what it's like.
I mean, like what time is it? What do you?
I believe
10 o'clock.
Is it 10? Yeah, because it's 9 their time.
10 o'clock?
10 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah.
When? Tomorrow?
That's when it starts.
Yeah, we got an
They
email.
started today. They started on Monday, it says.
No, it
No.
starts this afternoon. If you go to Mega Camp, is it 2020?
Oh yeah, welcome party this afternoon, 6 to 6:30.
Yeah, that's all that is a party. Which is kind of one thing I miss about Mega Camp. When you go to Mega Camp and you go to family reunion, if you go to megacamp.kw.com right
Okay.
now, and if you wanted to register, you could. However, you don't have to. And like I said,
I did register. That's why
okay. Yeah, if you look at the agenda
I'm looking at it.
for tomorrow, I'm just looking at for tomorrow. You see where it says Gary Keller's market update. That's when everybody would be in the big hall. And then it says Gary Keller presents top agent panels. Generally, most of us will sit in there and listen to the top agents. You don't have to, but that's your preference.
When you
Now,
say listen to the top agent, listen what's new or what is it?
Nope.
Do?
click on the link. It's a link. Click on it. It tells you what it is. They're going to tell you what they did to grow their business.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, that's good. That's good.
So you have to decide now. If you've registered, you're on a team.
But I didn't get that I'm on a team or anything because I'm brand new. I mean,
Well, but if you register for Mega Camp, you're on a team.
okay. And
Because
how would I find
if
out?
you would have gotten an email. You would have gotten an email that said, you're on this team or that team. I think I'm on like team 18 or something like that. And if you look where it says morning team huddle,
Yeah.
you get a coaching session, a 20-minute coaching session.
Individually?
Well, it's with the team,
Oh,
but it's a coaching session, something that would normally cost you close to a couple $100 a session.
uh-huh.
There's a morning team huddle and there's an afternoon team huddle. There's 2 sessions with a coach.
Okay.
And you get that every day, a morning session and an afternoon. You see, I think the Thursday is the only one we have is in the morning, right? Yeah, closing team huddle. Because usually the last day of Mega Camp, there's a cultural summit, what we call the inspirational breakfast. And then there's like an interview or two, and then basically everyone's taken off.
Let me ask you something. I think I may have unintentionally removed myself from that because I was clicking on them and I wasn't sure what I was doing.
Well, check for your email.
I did, but I wasn't sure if the team huddle Who do I check with? Should I call them?
Check your email. See if you have. I'm going to stop it.